Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of CS Cyber. I'm Chad.
I'm Sean.
And you're back.
I am back.
So
it feels like I've been gone a month.
I know. We were just talking like I haven't seen you in probably at least a month.
Yeah, it's been about a month.
So
yeah.
Welcome back. You're
Thanks.
back from Japan and Cybertech there.
Yeah, went out to, we actually started in Osaka and then moved up to Tokyo. So there was an international forum in Osaka, just meeting with a bunch of international cyber organizations, companies globally. And then we moved up to Tokyo for a larger plenary, larger group. But it was super awesome. Had a great time. Learned a lot. Made a lot of good contacts. I'm going to go into more detail on the weekly cyber update that we'll actually record tomorrow, and I believe Micah will have that up on Saturday. So if you're looking for that information, head out to that YouTube channel.
Cool. All right. So weekly cyber update. So today we are continuing our Ohio Cyber Ready Ohio series, talking about House Bill 96. And last week we had James. This week you're back. We're talking about protecting sensitive cyber information and public records requests.
Yeah, so I was actually just up in Toledo yesterday speaking in Summit County about House Bill 96, and we specifically covered the public records request topic. So I guess we can go into a little bit more detail about that. I guess the first thing that comes up is like what's exempted material. So what is the House bill going to cover? And then how do we cover it? So we'll talk about that. But some example materials, as I drop my phone. Some example materials like vulnerability scans, penetration tests, incident response plans, tabletop exercises. If you have an incident and you hire a company to come in and do an investigation, they may create a report that tells you kind of what their findings were, diagrams, layouts, security audit findings.
What about the thing we talk about, like, hardware asset inventories? Are those covered? Hardware, software inventories?
I believe those would be covered because those can be used to mount a attack against you. If I know what you have, I can tell you 100% this is going to be challenged in court. So just be prepared for that. The organizations are going to push back on companies that or local governments that deny a public records request. In order to set this up, though, make sure that you're having a discussion with your legal department, your prosecutor's office, and just making sure that you have everything set up legally with your contractors. So, for example, if you have a contract with Secure Cyber, you may want to contact us and say, hey, is there anything we need to change in our master service agreement to align up with House Bill 96, specifically covering the records request deviation?
Okay. So basically, in short, anything that reveals vulnerabilities, gaps, response strategies, lays out your network to an attacker.
Yeah, I would say anything that's produced that could be used to mount an attack against you would be included.
Okay. So this matters because if that's documented and it's out in the wild, then you're getting
profiled.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was looking for. So you're being profiled, right?
Yeah, you're being profiled. We actually we had a municipal summit right before I left 2 weeks ago, and one of the local governments did a great presentation. It was actually the city of Kettering. Their IT director Drew did a great presentation on how bad guys are using public records requests in order to get all the information, profile you to mount an attack against you. So, just be aware that, those bad guys are out there to take advantage of these situations. So this protection in House Bill 96 is very, very important.
Right. So we kind of have it in the context of like local governments, right? But it's any public subsidy. So these could include water, wastewater, like things like that.
Yeah. Any they define it as any public political subdivision, and the definition of that is if you're audited by the auditor of state, then you're included.
Gotcha. All right, so let's talk about some practical applications, right? So if your organization gets a public records request that includes cybersecurity materials, your legal counsel can deny that request.
That's correct.
So to your point, they should start taking steps now IT should be taking steps now to talk to their legal counsel.
That's correct. So, yeah, because legal counsel is going to need to know, who are your vendors? They may not know that, right? So the IT needs to start laying out these are the people we deal with. This is the material we receive. This is where we keep it. Because what can happen is there can be a disconnect, right? So we don't want somebody fulfilling a public records request if it's not fulfillable by the new House bill.
Right. So in conjunction with working with your legal counsel, I think it's really prudent, like some action steps for the IT departments is really start labeling this documentation confidential.
That's correct.
96 exempt. Somehow put a marking on it so that you can clearly identify, like, hey, this is related to our defense strategy. This is related to our how we protect ourselves, the vulnerability scan, something like that.
Yeah, this is similar to what we see on the CMMC side for defense contractors. It's really the tagging and marking of documents. A lot of local governments may be familiar with tagging things, for official use only, especially from a CJIS perspective. If it's a network drawing of the police department network, they will include for official use only because that's required by CJIS. So this is going to be a whole new, process that local government's going to have to be used to using things like watermark technology inside Word or whatever to, yes, either watermark confidential and then putting in the footers or headers, that it's exempt from public records via House Bill 96. But yes, and definitely talk to your legal team. They may have some guidance on how they want to see that tagged.
Right. And really kind of start keeping this stuff organized, right? I mean, if you're working out of a document management system or a platform, use that. If you're working out of spreadsheets, try to keep it contained to like a specific folder so this stuff isn't just kind of floating around, right? So think about how you're going to organize all this data.
Yeah, you may create like a parent folder that just says House Bill 96 exempt, and then it starts going into network drawings. And yes, I think that would help organize things.
Right. So, and then kind of create like a quick response protocol. Like, what's the checklist when we get this? Like, what are we going to go through, and then how do we deny or approve or whatever? Most organizations already have something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Because when it comes to declining a public records request, there's typically going to be a legal response that goes out to whoever made the request that explains why it's being denied and starts citing specific statutes.
Yeah. All right. So that's kind of like what we have to talk about with the I can't even. I'm trying to think
public records request.
I'm thinking like exempt. Public records request. So next week we'll talk about the new rules for ransomware and how, if you are going to pay that, kind of the hoops you have to jump through to pay that.
Yep, sounds good.
All right. See you next time.
Yep, see you next time.